Hello and welcome inside Holy Trinity Church in Dacre Banks, which is still open if you want to pop in for private prayer. But welcome to everyone from Darley and Summerbridge schools for this little assembly, if you like. I can't come in and see you, so I've kind of brought you in here to see me. I was going to say it's really nice to see you, but I can't. But hopefully you can see me and hear me. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story and have a thought in a moment. But I think whenever you have an assembly or a collective worship or something like that, it's often a good idea just to settle down and be quiet for a moment, just calm our thoughts. Now, there's a number of ways you can do that. One I quite like is get a bowl of water and just swirl it around, so it's whirling around a bit like all the thoughts and feelings inside you, and just watch it as the water goes still, and imagine yourself going still inside. Another way I quite like, which I'm going to do in a moment, is light a candle. I just don't know what it is, there's something quite calming about a candle flame, just watching it burning slowly. Only do that with an adult around, please, or with their permission. But we're going to do that in a moment, just to calm and settle ourselves down for a moment. So I'm going to focus you on a candle here. There you are, it's just there. And if I do this, you can see it really well. We'll just light the candle and we'll be still for a moment. Right, if we settle down a bit, I'm going to read you a short passage from this Bible here. A little story of Jesus. On a Sabbath day, Jesus went to the home of a leading Pharisee to eat with him. And Jesus noticed that some of the guests were choosing the best places to sit. So Jesus told this story. When someone invites you to a wedding feast, don't take the most important seat. The host may have invited someone more important than you. And if you are sitting in the most important seat, the host will come to you and say, "Give this man your seat." Then you will begin to move down to the last place and you will be very embarrassed. So when you are invited, go and sit in a seat that is not important. Then the host will come to you and say, "Friend, move up here to a more important place." Then all the other guests will respect you. Everyone who makes himself great will be made humble. But the person who makes himself humble will be made great. Jesus told that story with a deeper meaning, but before we think about that, just make sure we understand the story. And to do that, I've got here a special sort of teddy bear's picnic. It's been organised by King Ted here. He's invited a lot of others to his feast. Now, in Jesus' time, where you sat at a table was quite important. It depended on how important you are, how rich you were, how old you were sometimes. At a dinner table, some places were considered more important and more honourable than others. In fact, it's probably still the case today in many places. Everyone wanted, in this place, to sit close to the king, where they could get to know the king, and the king would get to know them, and they could talk to him and maybe ask him for favours and be considered for important jobs and so on. At important dinner parties, where you might meet important people, you wanted to be seen to be important yourself. and then people tended to behave very badly. There would be a lot of pushing and shoving and competition to get the best place at the table, nearest the king. So the most powerful people, the strongest and richest, usually ended up at the top of the table, as it was known, and the less important people always ended up with what was left at the bottom. Now, Jesus noticed people doing that at the dinner party he was at. And so he told this little story. Let's imagine how it works out with our teddies here. There's King Teddy's place at the top. All the teddies want to be the most important. And when they come in, they start to push and shove and fight and argue. Here they are. What will happen? Who will get the best places? Well, all the bigger teddies, the big push and shove, and they run over all the little ones, and bash them all about. And they come over here, and then they have a bit of a squabble. Who wants to go first? I don't suppose they do this with the kings here, but they probably would. And in the end, the strongest and the fiercest puts everybody else out of the way. Right. And he sits in the most important place. And everyone else has a tussle for the next most important. And who's the biggest? Who's the most important? They all end up in a sort of a ranking, I suppose. And then the others try the same. Yes, all right, yes. And they have a bit of a tussle too. And they... Yes. Perhaps the loudest and noisiest. Shush. And you see what happens? All the littlest ones get the worst places, and all the biggest ones get the best places. And that's what tends to happen sometimes in life. The biggest and strongest people, the ones who have the most money or the most power, tend to make sure they get the best things in life. So the weakest and the poorest, or the injured or the disabled, get the least. And the biggest and strongest countries in the world get the best things for their people. And the poorest and weakest get very little. But Jesus said, imagine this. What if King Ted had invited one of his oldest friends? Like old Doggy here. And King Ted wanted to talk to Doggy. And so when Doggy came in, King Ted, oh, welcome, I'd like to have a sit next to you. And he has a look around. There's no space left. Can you give my friend your place? And then the crow here would have to go down to the lowest place, and there he sulks. Serves him right, perhaps. Instead, Jesus said, when you're invited, don't get involved in the pushing and the shoving and scrambling for the best. Just put yourself in the lowest place. Now, what will happen if we do that? Let's start again, shall we? Everybody's coming in. There they all are. Over there. There they all are. And they're all getting ready to come into the feast. And they're all getting ready to push and shove and have a fight for the best place. But all except for little Pineapple Bunny here. She doesn't want to play that game. She's not interested in pushing and shoving and getting the best place. She's just happy if she gets some dinner. That'll be quite enough for her. So when she comes in, she just pops off to the bottom place where everyone else pushes and shoves and fights and squabbles and the fiercest win again. The strongest and the biggest get the best place. And they all are again. Yes, I know. Oh, no, you're going to have to take your place here. Yes, there they all go. Oh no, I'm bigger than you. You can go there. Right, there. we end up, when it looks all the same situation, the same thing happens again. Everyone seems to, they've ordered themselves by order of power or rank, or however you might describe it, all except little Pineapple here, who really doesn't mind. Until King Ted looks, who's that way down there? Pineapple, what are you doing right over there? Come up here and sit by me, says King Ted. It wasn't what she'd intended, but Pineapple is honoured, and she's able to go up and sit by the king, and oh, who has to give his place up again? It's our cheeky old crow. He can go down there and sulk again. Perhaps serve him right. Jesus said something once. He said, "The first shall be last, and the last shall be first." That's called, all this is about what's called humility, being humble, not trying to put yourself in the best place, in the highest place in life, because eventually you'll be told to move down, because you're not as important as you think. If you are humble, like Pineapple then, put yourself in the lower place. Don't always try to be the most important in life. If you take the place of a servant, Jesus once said, "Among you, my friends, the most important is the one who serves the others, not the one who lords it over them." Eventually God will say to you, "Friend, move up to a better place." A few years ago now, I took the funeral of a friend of mine who had died. She had always put other people first. She'd been the church administrator. She did all the jobs behind the scenes, the humble jobs, the printing and the photocopying and arranging the hall bookings and things, all the things that other people didn't know were done, really. They just happened. But she'd done the same with her family as well. She always put everyone else first. Made sure her children and her brothers and sisters all had everything that they wanted or needed, and she was happy to go without. And when it came to her funeral, at the end of her life, everyone knew somehow that God was saying to this lady, "Friend, move up to a better place. Come and sit next to me in heaven." For those who always push and shove for the best place in life, because they're strong enough or rich enough to do so, what will God say to them in the end? Will they be like the crow? You're told, "You're not as important as you think. Give somebody else the place." Being humble is not about beating yourself up and thinking you're no good at anything. It's just about not putting yourself in the most important place. Put others first. I'm going to sing a little song now. One more step along the world I go. You might know it, actually. I'm just going to move you up a bit so you don't lose my head when I sing it. There we go. There you go. If I do that, then you'll be able to see me as we're singing. It's not really a song about being humble or anything like that, though it is a sort of prayer to God that helps us to live well. And part of living well is actually putting others first. As I travel through the bad and good, keep me travelling the way I should. One more step along the world I go. One more step along the world I go. From the old things to the new. Keep me travelling along with you. And it's from the old I travel to the new. Keep me travelling along with you. Round the corners of the world I turn. More and more about the world I learn. All the new things that I see. just going to finish with a short prayer. Lord, teach us to be humble in a good way, to take the place in life that's good, to not always put ourselves first, to put others first. Teach us not to be proud, to push others out of the way in any way, but make sure we all share the good things that God has given us. Help us, Lord Jesus. Amen. God bless you all. I hope you're keeping well. Take care. Remember, you're always welcome in the church when it's open, which we're keeping it open during daylight at the moment. God bless you.